Welcome back to Daniel Smith's Colour Showdown. This is episode 8, and in this episode we're going to be looking at Transparent Brown Oxide versus Mummy Bauxite. Now these two colours have been confusing me for as long as I've had the colour swatch chart. They are so similar when it's on a little card like this, so I thought these two would be a great comparison to have, as in the last season, I discovered doing this series that I really like the trans red oxide instead of the transparent oxide. So I thought it would be really good to really get to know this color, considering how much I like the trans red oxide, and also test this fascinating sounding name color. They are both series 1, so price doesn't come into it. It will be interesting to see what the exact difference between these two are. So let's take a closer look at each of these colors, and then we can come back and compare the two together. First up is Transparent Brown Oxide, and it is made out of PR101, which is calcinated synthetic red iron oxide. Daniel Smith's website says a fully transparent, non-staining, rich, vivid brown. Elemental and versatile, its granulating properties when blended with permanent green changes a sprout to a mature green of tenure and complexity. Used in a low ratio of paint to water in a wash, transparent brown oxide becomes almost peach and can be used as a glaze with a remarkable effect, adding shadows rich in depth and mystery. It is a series 1 color. It is classified as excellent in lightfastness, transparent, non-staining, and granulate. Next up is Mummy Bauxite, and it is made out of natural iron oxide, and Daniel Smith's website says a warm cinnamon color that granulates to resemble rust iron. Daniel Smith's Mummy Bauxite combines powerful color with visual texture. Mummy was a very popular organic pigment in the 18th and 19th centuries, rumored to have been made from ground Egyptian mummies. The mineral's name comes from Les Bourgs in southern France, where it was first identified in the 19th century. Our source brings us Mummy Bauxite from Chitinskaya province. Unlike the old world color, Daniel Smith's Mummy Bauxite is extremely lightfast and low staining. You get the tonal warmth and depths of traditional mummy with the modern assurance that the color is strong, stable, and consistent. It is a series 1 color, classified as excellent in lightfastness, semi-transparent, low staining, and granulating. Welcome back. The paints have dried. This side is Transparent Brown Oxide and this side is Mummy Bauxite. I can definitely notice a difference in hue. The Mummy Bauxite is the redder, more warmer color. Not quite as much as burnt sienna, but it is definitely the warmer of the two colors. The Transparent Oxide is a much more muted, cooler color. I'm really excited about some of the stuff going on this sheet, so let's take a closer look at each of the tests we did and see how the two colors compare. First up is the washes, and this side is the Transparent Brown Oxide and this side is the Mummy Bauxite. There is definitely a huge difference. Mummy Bauxite is the much more warmer, redder brown than the Transparent Brown Oxide. Interestingly, with the Transparent Oxide, you can see a granulation where the granulation is almost like a very dark brown, almost black granulation. Whereas with Mummy Bauxite, it's the same hue throughout the granulation. They do both granulate very nicely, but I did find that the Transparent Oxide was easier to create gradated washes with, whereas the Mummy Bauxite, I did have some cauliflowering issues on the Archer's cold press. Let's have a look at the opacity, lifting and glazing first. And up here you have the Transparent Brown Oxide, and down here you have the Mummy Bauxite. In terms of opacity, Transparent Brown Oxide is classified as transparent, whereas the Mummy Bauxite is classified as semi-transparent, and I tend to agree with that. I can definitely see some deposit over the black line on the Mummy Bauxite, whereas the Transparent Brown Oxide, the black is still very much black with no deposit over it. In terms of lifting, this was very interesting because the Transparent Brown Oxide is classified as no staining, whereas the Mummy Bauxite is classified as low staining. However, I did manage to get more of the paint off in the Mummy Bauxite than I did with the Transparent Brown Oxide. With the Transparent Brown Oxide, I can definitely see deposits of paint still left in the pits of the paper, whereas this has come off pretty uniformly. There is still some pigment, but it's definitely a lot less than the Transparent Brown Oxide. In terms of gauzing, because these two colors are both very granulating colors, they do a fantastic job of creating linear patterns where the gauze was sitting. With the Transparent Brown Oxide, I can see the pattern being more feathery. You do get the lines, but then you also get some feathered lines around the linear pattern that's formed. Whereas with the Mummy Bauxite, you get nice, clean, linear patterns. As for salt, the colors did react a little bit, as you can see, but it's not a pretty pattern really, so I wouldn't recommend using salt in either of these colors. As for water blooms, they both do react, but I think the Transparent Brown Oxide did a prettier job than the Mummy Bauxite did. Let's have a look at how these two colors mix with other colors. For reference, these are the 12 colors I mixed these two colors with. So this is how these 12 colors look when you mix it with Transparent Brown Oxide. And this is how these 12 colors look like when you mix it with Mummy Bauxite. Many of you know that I'm not the biggest fan of earth colors and neutral colors, but then when I saw in season 1 of this series how well Transparent Oxide mixed with other colors to create these gorgeous rich tones, I fell in love with it and it went straight onto my palette. I'm kind of feeling the same about the Transparent Brown Oxide. Guys, browns are really, really handy for mixing with. And I would definitely say that the Transparent Brown Oxide is an excellent mixing color. Look at how gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous these colors look. It's a nice, really warm, rich, autumnal, wintry colors. And I just love this palette. I would love to see just a pre-mixed palette of these 12 colors mixed with the Transparent Oxide. So in terms of being a mother color, it is an amazing color to have on your palette. And just the inky gorgeousness that is happening here is just lovely. I think this is the best mixing color we've had in this season. The Mummy Bauxite in comparison creates a much lighter mix of colors, but it's slightly more uneven in value. I really like the Transparent Oxide because all the colors kind of talk to each other and go with each other and mix really well with each other, whereas you get some really strong colors in certain colors here, whereas you get pale colors in other places. So in terms of being a mixing color, I don't really recommend it as much as I recommend the Transparent Oxide. The Mummy Bauxite is definitely a color to have on your palette because you like the original color rather than what it can do for the other colors. In conclusion, both the Transparent Brown Oxide and the Mummy Bauxite are lovely browns to work with. Transparent Oxide is the cooler one and the Mummy Bauxite is a much warmer of the two. I think you guys might have gathered though that I've just fallen in love with the Transparent Brown Oxide And so the transparent oxide is definitely going on my list of new colors to add to my palette, because those autumnal rich colors are just too yummy to pass by. Which one would you go for? Would you go for the transparent oxide or the Mummy Bauxite? Do let me know in the comments down below. And if you do already have either of these colors on your palette and you really enjoy using it, then please do also let us know what you enjoy using these colors for. I hope this video was interesting and useful to you. If so, please do give it a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!